Updated 9 August 2017, 11:05 AEST. U.S. President Donald Trump has warned North Korea will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen if it continues to threaten the United States. Key point: SMR Trump made comments a day after Secretary of State Rex Tillerson left door open for dialogue. President's press briefing was supposed to be about opioid addiction. Washington Post says Pyongyang has produced nuclear weapons for ballistic missile delivery, but within hours of Mr. Trump's threat, North Korea's military said it was carefully examining a plan to strike the U.S. Pacific territory of Guam with missiles. Mr. Trump's comments, delivered to reporters at his New Jersey golf course, came after Japan said it believed North Korea could have developed the technology to miniaturize nuclear warheads, which would enable them to be put on an intercontinental ballistic missile. North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen, Mr. Trump said during a briefing which was supposed to be about the problem of opioid addiction in the U.S. A spokesman for the Korean People's Army, in a statement carried by the North state-run KCNA news agency, said the plan to strike Guam could be carried out any moment once leader Kim Jong-un made a decision. In another statement citing a different military spokesman, North Korea also said it could carry out a preemptive operation if the United States showed signs of provocation. Secretary of Defense James Mattis has previously warned of an overwhelming response to nuclear provocation by North Korea, but said a military solution in North Korea would be tragic on an unbelievable scale. Trump bombast prompts consternation in Washington. Trump's threat prompted condemnation around Washington, with warnings that the president's comments had undermined the United States' position and moved the country closer to a potentially catastrophic war. California Senator Dianne Feinstein said the policy of isolating North Korea had failed and Mr. Trump's bombastic comments had escalated tensions between the two countries. The United States must quickly engage North Korea in a high-level dialogue without any preconditions, she said. Former Secretary of Defense William J. Perry raised concerns that Mr. Trump had undermined nuclear deterrence with his comments. Nuclear deterrence is only effective if threats are deemed credible. Bluster hurts our national security posture, he tweeted. Ben Rhodes, who was a foreign policy advisor in the Obama administration, tweeted that there were only two outcomes from Mr. Trump's threat, and both were negative. Either these threats foreshadow a catastrophic war or empty posturing that diminishes U.S. credibility and destabilizes relations with others, he said. Senator for Hawaii Brian Schatz called for the ambassador to South Korea, Secretary for East Asia Affairs and Secretary for Asian Pacific Security Affairs to be sent to the Senate. We need professionals guiding this process. We learned from our wars in the Middle East bad decisions can make a terrible situation worse, he tweeted. U.S. stocks fell after a later afternoon sell-off on Wall Street in the wake of Mr. Trump's comments. Time is not on our side, expert warns. Former Pentagon head of weapons testing in the Clinton administration Philip Coyle said North Korea was very close to being able to launch a missile strike on the United States. I think we have to be skeptical about reports of how advanced the nuclear program is, but nevertheless, time is not on our side, he told RN Breakfast. Dr. Coyle, a senior science fellow at the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation, said despite the rising tensions between the U.S. and North Korea, there was still time for diplomacy to prevail. It would be suicidal for North Korea to attack the United States, or any of allies, and similarly we shouldn't be saber-rattling right now either. People might say, well gee, it's too late. North Korea's already there. But we reached an agreement with Iran when people said, well, Iran will never agree to halt their nuclear weapons program. And they did. Escalation could spark catastrophe. Escalation came just a day after U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson held the door open for dialogue with North Korea. The consequences of a U.S. strike would potentially be catastrophic for South Koreans, Japanese and U.S. military personnel within range of North Korean retaliatory strikes. Japan's defense ministry concluded in an annual white paper released on Tuesday that it is possible that North Korea has achieved the miniaturization of nuclear weapons and has developed nuclear warheads. A report in The Washington Post on Tuesday went further. The newspaper said U.S. intelligence officials have assessed that a decade after North Korea's first nuclear test explosion, Pyongyang has produced nuclear weapons for ballistic missile delivery, including by intercontinental missiles, the type capable of reaching the continental U.S. That is a key benchmark in the country's attempt to become a full-fledged nuclear power. The US also calculated last month that North Korea had up to 60 nuclear weapons, the Post said, more than double most assessments by independent experts. Washington's alarm over North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's pursuit of nuclear capability has intensified after the North conducted 2 tests of intercontinental ballistic missiles last month. North Korea has made no secret of its plans to develop a nuclear-tipped missile capable of striking the United States and has ignored international calls to halt its nuclear and missile programs. The UN Security Council unanimously imposed new sanctions on North Korea on Saturday over its continued missile test that could slash the reclusive country's $3.8 billion annual export revenue by a third. North Korea says its intercontinental ballistic missiles are a legitimate means of defense against perceived U.S. hostility. Reuters app.